Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of my Cedar Point Recreation Park. Today we're going to be hard at work building some station buildings and infrastructure, as we have been for the last several episodes. I had estimated that this was going to be quite a long phase, and it turns out that my estimates were pretty close. Today we're going to be working on the Camp Snoopy area, including one ride that I have not even mentioned once this whole series, and that is Snake River Expedition, the boat ride that goes around the river in the middle of the park. As I've mentioned before, I've never really been back to this area of the park, and I've never been on the boat ride, despite it existing in one form or another for several decades now. And I knew that there was a building here, but I didn't bother to research what it actually was when we did the original park layout. But of course, I want to have as many rides operational in my park as possible, so we gotta get this one done. Fortunately, I was able to find a lot of really great photos and videos of this part of the park, so I had a lot of really great references for what this area of the park looked like. I wouldn't say that I'm 100% satisfied with the building that we have down here yet, but I think what we have so far is looking pretty good. We're probably going to have to come back here later on to tidy things up with some more benches, umbrellas, foliage, fences, things like that. The most challenging part over here is definitely making the little dock area where the boats load and unload passengers. I wanted to have a smooth downward transition from the main path area to the coastline, but of course it's hard to do that in RCT, have it look nice and smooth. So it looks kind of awkward over here. But at least we have the ride open and running. We can always go back and clean things up later, as I always say. In addition to that, today we're going to be cleaning up all of these stations for the rides in Camp Snoopy, similar to how we did it over in Planet Snoopy a few episodes ago. Most of the decoration over here was already done anyway, because when we built these rides, I added in all the fences and everything at that time. So really all we're doing is some cleanup here, adding some missing fences, hiding those default queues, sprinkling in some foliage around here and there. We're still missing, I think, some benches and flower beds in this area, but as I've mentioned before, this whole area is already pretty cramped. There isn't a whole lot of space for anything else extra in the paths. It has been tough enough just to get all of the rides in here. So we might be able to spend a little bit of time near the end of the project adding a couple more details, but I don't anticipate us spending a whole lot more time over here. As I was doing a little bit of research for Woodstock Express, I was kind of surprised to find that there's basically no station building for it at all. As I mentioned before, I've never ridden it, so I'm not 100% sure what it looks like, but from the photos that I saw, it's sitting out there kind of naked, which looks a little strange. And for an RCT build, it makes it look kind of unfinished. So this is definitely one area that I'll have to come back to add a couple extra tweaks on. Maybe add in a little bit of building that wasn't here in real life, just to make things look a little bit more finished. Also, since this area is getting pretty much done, I spent a little bit of time on some of our path decorations that normally we would have saved until later on. There's a long stretch of diagonal path between Woodstock Express and Peanuts 500. And I thought it would be nice to throw down the diagonal fences that kind of framed this area, just to continue to finalize this area. It's a little unfortunate that this whole path area is a little bit awkward, just because Woodstock Express is a lot larger than it should be and takes up a lot more space than it should. But the more of the path decorations and everything that we add in here, I think that's going to help hide a lot of that awkwardness. Also, to help round things out, I did add a couple more non-ride buildings in here. There is one food stall, Charlie Brown's Cookout. I've been trying to add more and more food stalls as we go because my peeps have been complaining of hunger quite a bit lately, especially as the back of the park gets filled out and there isn't a whole lot for them to eat back here. And we also have a little outdoor theater area here, and there definitely isn't enough room in my park to do this poor theater justice with regards to how much decoration and space it needs. So it winds up looking pretty basic, unfortunately. But I really just wanted to kind of fill in those gaps. There is still one big gift shop at the other end of Camp Snoopy that I haven't touched yet, but we'll fill that in later. And finally, we have one more bonus ride today, one that I had plotted out some space for but hadn't bothered to build yet. And that is Snoopy Bounce, a large inflatable Snoopy Bounce house sort of thing. Not the kind of ride that you see made in Roller Coaster Tycoon very often. But I would like to give some credit to Jazzenden, who did a bounce castle in his Bonbonland Recreation Park, from which I stole my ride design. Basically, all we're doing is building an empty maze, since, as you may know, peeps will jump up and down when they're in the maze. which I guess emulates a bouncy house as best as we can get for RCT. Of course, the hardest part for me here is trying to recreate the giant inflatable Snoopy that's on top of the bounce house. And that's definitely more of a creative challenge. As of right now, I'm using bits of a Sphinx scenery piece to try to emulate that. I'm sure there's gotta be a better solution though. What I have out here looks super silly. Although I have to admit that I kind of like it just because it is so silly. But on the other hand, it kind of sticks out and looks, pretty unrealistic, so. But anyway, I think that's about going to do it for today. Relatively short episode, but I needed a bit of a break from the ordeal that was our Maverick build. It was nice to have something a little bit simpler and a little bit quicker to put together. But as I've mentioned before, we're getting pretty close to the end of this phase, just a couple more rides left to go, which is pretty exciting. But that's all for today, and as always, if you've got any comments, questions, or suggestions, please let me know. Thanks for watching.